I want to die, but I want to eat tteokbokki. I wish I had some tteokbokki for this opening. So this book is absolutely sweeping the nation here in the UK at the very least. I've seen at least 4 other people reading this book on the train. This exact same cover actually, this seems to be the very popular cover that everyone's buying, and frankly I love the combination of like a lavendery purple and this sort of yellowy green. Great combination, but I digress. I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki is a conversation between the author, Baek Se-hee, which I think I said that right, I apologise if I didn't, and her therapist. From start to finish, this book is not an easy read, especially if you're the kind of person that might have gone through what the author has gone through. So I would maybe, check what is being said in this before buying it. There's discussions of eating disorders, of bullying, of domestic violence. There's a lot of serious stuff discussed in this, so these may be trigger warnings for you. I won't really go into detail about those in this video though, just in case. So, the book is, basically in interview format, sort of a back and forth between the author and her psychologist, or therapist even. And it's a moving read. It's a read that if you're someone who has been to a psychiatrist or a therapist before, something you might be very familiar with. I, full disclosure, have in the past, and this is very reminiscent of the sort of conversations I would have, the learnings I would have about myself. I guess I'm a little bit younger than the author was at the time of writing this book when it initially came out in Korea. So, I kind of get some of the things they're going through at the moment, maybe to a lesser extent. There's a lot of stuff the author talks about that they've been through in their life that I personally have never been through, but I've had obviously the experience with a psychiatrist / therapist. So I sort of understand the things that the psychiatrist is trying to eke out of the author. Basically, the author went off and recorded the sessions that she had and decided to sort of transcribe them with some additional pieces of editorialization before and after the transcripts of her discussions, and some parentheses. She started crying, she started feeling a certain way when going through these conversations. I think it's a very, very good book just for you to kind of go through and read, especially if you're the kind of person who feels that I might need to see a therapist. Again, this book is not a replacement for actually seeing a therapist yourself. If you need one and you have access to one, please go see one. I definitely know it's very hard to get to see one, at least here in the UK, either through the NHS or just how expensive it is, especially in this cost of living. It does, kind of make you think, oh wow, I've felt that way. And some of the stuff that, is the psychiatrist has said to the author is some stuff you can reflect on. Again, it is a book, and even the author themselves says this isn't a replacement for you actually going to therapy, etc. I would recommend it. Like I said at the beginning, there are multiple trigger warnings throughout the book, such as bullying, domestic violence, eating disorders, many, many things. So I would look into that beforehand if those things may affect you personally. And, obviously those things are very difficult to deal with on a personal level, and even having to experience it through the medium of a book or TV, etc. is difficult for some people, and I understand that. My main 2 takeaways from this book is, 1, I'm probably going to go back and revisit this multiple times. I know there's a sequel to this book either out or coming out in English, and it's something that, these different things that the author goes through and discusses with their therapist may be things that I'm feeling, maybe feeling like I don't know how to vent my frustrations, or at points talking about that I feel like I'm just ordinary, and then should I be okay with that, or does everyone just feel like they're just ordinary, they're boring, etc. And these are things that you can go back and read the discussion that the author has with their psychiatrist, and then you can kind of take away with, okay, maybe that is how I should think about it. Again, not a replacement for actually seeing a therapist or psychiatrist yourself. That's my number 1 takeaway from it, that this is a book that you can go back and revisit and kind of feel seen about how you're feeling, especially if you're feeling the ways that the author feels throughout the book. And secondarily, and maybe more importantly, is stuff like going to therapy is good for you and it's helpful. Seeing a psychiatrist or a therapist is genuinely helpful. Obviously, this is anecdotal evidence. I'm saying I don't have any data or study in front of me. If I find one, I'll put it here. But if you are able to, see if you can get some if you feel like you need it. Don't feel afraid of stigmas around going to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. I know actually as I've gotten older, I've seen that sort of negativity around seeing one slowly erode, but in certain communities, such as the community I belong to, the idea of seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist may be looked down upon. Please don't let that get in the way of you genuinely seeking help if you feel like you need it or you want it. I promise you it will do you a world of good. It did me a world of good when I went to it, and it clearly did the author a world of good. And you can see her progress throughout this book, and it's great. And I'm sure there'll be more progress throughout the second or the sequel to this book. So that was I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Baek Se-hee, translated by Anton Burr. Links to the book will be in the description down below. And if you have read the book, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the book. I'm sure some people have very different opinions on me about this. I think when it comes to these books about, I wouldn't quite call it a self-help book, but sort of a memoir type book, especially one discussing things like therapy, people have very different opinions on it. Like I said, and I think like the author suggests, this book isn't a replacement for getting help if you need it and can get it. Do not take this book as your solution to all your problems. If you are able to go see a therapist, I strongly recommend you do. Let this maybe be a pathway or a guideline to convince you to go see one if you feel you need one, or it might even, make you realize, oh, maybe I should go see one if you've never thought of it before. That's what this book should serve as. There's a review from someone here that says, if there is one word to sum up this book, it is seen. And I think that's really correct. I think a lot of people feel like they feel a certain way, but they think other people don't feel like that. And this book really just demonstrates, oh no, there is maybe another person on the other side of the world from where I am that feels these emotions that I feel about myself, has this relationship with themselves the way I have a relationship with myself. And it makes you feel not alone in this world. And like I said, it might actually help you to seek help if you feel like you need it. So that was I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. Like I said, link in the description down below. I hope if you feel like you want to read this, do read it. And I hope you have a great day today and you read a great book.